Hello, everybody. This is Frank Data Lorenzo back with another quick edition of QuickLaunch Live, where again we take 15 minutes, kind of touch on a particular data subject, give you some food for thought. Certainly can't cover it in a lot of detail. So if we ever talk about a subject that's of interest to you and you want to dive deeper, you want some of the slides maybe we've put together, just reach out. Honestly, any of us at our team are all passionate about talking data, would be happy to help. Also, if you go to our company page on LinkedIn, Preferred Strategies, all the events, all the past broadcasts are there. You can watch them at any time. My only small favor I ask is if you watch one after the fact, just put a comment, anything, so we kind of know the content's being viewed. And more importantly, if you have a question, put that out there as well. So for today, again, if you have questions as we're going through the broadcast today, put them in the chat, any comments. And you know what? If you're viewing us live right now or today, put in the comments where you're viewing from, or say hello, or any funny comment you'd like, or ask a question. All right, so to our content today. Today, we're going to talk about the value of combining data from other data sources. Most of our clients don't live in an ERP vacuum. So whether you have JD Edwards or Viewpoint Vista, too, we work pretty heavily with, um, chances are you have a separate CRM system, a separate project management system, procurement system, and things of that nature, or data on the Internet of Things that you'd like to pull on in. So I want to touch on some of that today, at least at a high level, and let's get started. So let's see if I can share my screen. All right. Technology-wise, off to a good start. Sometimes I have hiccups. 1 minute before the broadcast, the speaker wasn't connected properly. It was connecting to some other speaker. So you never know. Always got to test it. But so far, so good. So the value of additional data sources. Well, what do we mean by that? Now, a lot of these slides I've used in the past, but I'm going to use them to hone on this specific message. So the reporting that most people still do today, I say of the past, but really, unless you are at a very mature data-driven level, this may represent your reporting structure today. So from our ERP, we're creating all these custom reports, right? And that's tough enough to manage out of one database. So I've got all these custom reports. Does not matter if it's Excel, Crystal, SSRS, or even Power BI. If I'm creating Power BI data sets, for each report I create, it creates a little mini blue cube. We use that to represent a data model or a Power BI data set. So what exasperates this issue? Well, when you start adding other data sources, this is just an example of one, but many clients I have the honor of working with have the ERP and 2 to 5, 6, 7 other sources of data, other solutions that they're using that round out their corporate data structure. And really getting our arms around that's what gives us a 360-degree view of our operations. Hello, John Keaton. It's been a long time. So glad to have you out here today. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining, John. Okay, and then here you can kind of see how this issue grows and grows. I custom write, whether it's right in the ERP in their own report system or anything else, I custom write reports, or I'm doing manual exports to Excel, or extracting data into Excel and I'm creating reports. And same with Power BI. I'm creating report after report after report. Somewhat more savvy folks get to the point where they may have a data model, again, represented by the blue cube, a data model for each module in their system. So for construction, it might be GL, job cost, APAR. It's getting better, but it's not quite where we're optimized or where we should want to be. Now, again, what exasperates that issue? Well, when I start bringing in other data, because now, how do I combine it? First of all, I'm typically custom writing reports off of that data source exclusively. So how do we address all this? Well, and again, the issue, this illustrates it a different way, but I've got in this case, my ERP, a CRM, a supply chain, another data source. And in this case, I have a job or project number that's the same number across these different solutions, but the way the raw data is formatted, maybe the syntax is different. Morning from Houston. Thank you for joining us today. So it makes it difficult to report across these different data structures. To exasperate the issue, this might be on-prem, this might be in Azure, this might be in AWS. So we're faced with kind of various hosting locations with inconsistent data. How do I combine all that? Well, what I see a lot of clients do is they'll custom write reports off of each system, or pull data into Excel and then use Excel as the magic glue to try and bring all this together. And it works after some wrestling and fighting and getting it down. But how do you trust in the data? How do you drill to the details? How do you manage that process over multiple systems and multiple reporting needs? So that becomes a real challenge. So you notice I took data out of here. Of course, you collect data in these systems because you need to process it. That's key. And that needs to be done effectively, accurate data, validated data. But from a reporting standpoint, to be data driven, and this is a bit of a paradigm shift, don't think of your data in each disparate system. Move it to the one unified data model, again, represented by our blue cube. But now I've got one data source. What does that afford me? A lot easier to secure, govern, because now I have one Active Directory login to access all data regardless of source, including Internet of Things, so weather data. I've got some folks interested in bringing in like telematics, which is equipment sensor data. Now I'm writing reports using whatever tool I want, actually. Crystal SSRS, primarily Power BI. We can talk about that in another session, but the why with Power BI, it is pretty fly, but or Excel. So now I have one uniformed number formatted in one location to draw from. Much easier to govern, secure, and trust the data. Okay. Some of the obstacles to a strong data driven strategy, a strong data strategy, raw data formats. Let's remember, systems are meant to process data, not necessarily uh, report on it. So they're optimized to process efficiently volumes of transactions, journal entries, AP, AR, billings, and so forth. So it's not always optimized for reporting unless you have some real strong programming skill sets. Data is in disparate data sets, like we talked about. So our databases. So where do I go get the data? And do I have to log into each system separately to secure it? And this is another interesting one I've seen, integration for reporting purposes only. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of times you need to integrate, say, your estimating system to your job cost because those numbers need to process through both systems, right? So I'm doing an estimate. I need to send that into my accounting so that I can use that data as I'm building out my actual costs and so forth. By fiscal period, I want to see that data, for example. But I see a lot of clients that will integrate data between systems kind of as a dump, if you will, a data dump, almost like using one of the databases as some kind of data warehouse. So they'll bring that all into the data, uh, one data system purely for reporting. And I'm here to tell you there certainly is a better way. So this is, and I've shown this one before. I'll touch on this. But once you get one well-governed data model, this affords you a lot in terms of security, self-service reporting, trust in the data, performance of the database refreshes. But I'm pulling from multiple modules. Now, here's the real cool part. This sales, that may be feeding from Salesforce. Everything else may be coming from my accounting. Equipment may be coming from telematics, heavy job, B2W, or another equipment system. I want to slice and dice that data by these dimensions. So I have customer, supplier, account, in this case, business unit, the overarching calendar. That's kind of a secret glue if you do that right, secret sauce, subledger, and then all the measures. And what's really cool is these measures can be combined measures between disparate systems. So today, I think I have a treat. I'll get to that in a moment as an example I can show. And then again, I showed this last time, but where do you feel you are on your data strategy maturity line? Are you data aware, data proficient? Really want to drive to be data driven. And this is what that looks like. IT and business works together and is well aligned. You can trust the data. You know the source and data integration is complete. Thus, you can trust it and easily report on it. And I can tell you this right now, when folks get this, when our customers, we see kind of the lights, the aha moment, we get pretty excited over that. I know I've shown that before, but I just can't get enough of it. This is truly how our team, gets and love the visual. Thank you out there in LinkedIn land. But very passionate about our clients and our data. I think that's why it results in such a high client A success rate when these projects are hard to do on your own, and B satisfaction rate with our clients. But with a few minutes we have left, I wanted to give you some examples. Sometimes seeing is really believing. So here is one Power BI report containing multiple pages where I've built data from both Salesforce and preferred strategies. Now, To see how that looks in a data model, the secret sauce, let's take a peek. If I open up data, this, if you open up raw data in JDE, hard to decipher. We've done a session on that. Salesforce, you can understand some of the data elements, but how you combine them, relate them, filter, and slice them becomes a real challenge. So imagine combining those two systems. Well, here I've done that. So combined measures are measures that pull from both Salesforce and JD Edwards. I've got the calendar overriding all of this, which is fantastic. Forecasting data, opportunity, you'll see the language, product, all coming from Salesforce, but now sales and all my financial data, customer up here, all pulling from JD Edwards. So let's dive in a little deeper. If I look at my JD actual versus pipeline, let's select one visual. If I select this particular visual, I can see what elements are being brought in to build this. Combine measures from both. That's a formula that combines data from Salesforce to JDE. We create it, we validate it, we vet it. Now we can use it in a secured environment. Customer ship tos, that's all coming from JDE. Opportunity from Salesforce. And then our actual accounting sales dollars from JDE. You get the drill. Very easy to see and work with. And then some cool things abound here. As I click on one, you'll notice the visuals will all filter and respond to that one selection that I have here. So not much, nothing in the other tables tied to Schwartz. I've got a blended customer analysis, but here's the really cool thing. And I know we don't have a lot of time, so I want to jump over to this. If we get to the end here and we want to do our own thing from scratch, I can go ahead. Well, in the interest of time, I did one that isn't pretty, but I want to illustrate this point. So this visual I created in 30 seconds. It obviously could be cleaned up, but I am pulling in customer data, opportunity measures like the projections, projected amount from the pipeline. I went ahead and I pulled sales data. So I've got sales amount, I believe, this year and prior year. Yep, prior year. So that's all coming from JDE. I literally just select the fields and drag them into the canvas. And as I mentioned a moment ago, I wanted to slice and dice those here or view that data by customer. I believe I used ship to customer name, concatenated field. And then down here, I added a slicer where I'm saying I want to pull the calendar in. And what did I pull? All these calendar elements are built out of the box, which is great. But I just wanted to be able to look at this by my fiscal year and period. And in JD Edwards, if you use a 445 calendar, if you happen to, calendar's already built to support that. Very cool. Thank you, LinkedIn user. Appreciate that. But you notice if I click around in here, the data is respecting the calendar filter because the data model is built to relate all those elements. So now really to be self-sufficient in reporting, I don't need the IT. It really bridges the gap that many folks have between IT and programming skills and business acumen. If you know your role and you know what data elements you want, if you can look at this and say, yes, this is the data I'm looking to report on, then you can easily come here. I'm dying to do it, but I know we're up against the clock, and just start building your own basic visuals. In fact, I'll tell you what, take that Pepsi challenge. Anybody out there wants to see me, non-technical, build a pretty nice dashboard with you on the fly in just a few minutes. Ping me and I'd be happy to schedule that. But be kind, be nice. Don't if you're a really good programmer, you could probably trump me. But for the most part, I'll take that challenge. It'll be fun. And we got another interesting comment I'll share. Love the drag and drop to create this report. Is this just for IT to use? That's really the beauty of the tool Power BI. It is not. We want to unlock the power of reporting, and we do this so people have some core capability to self-service their reporting needs. And that's, as simple as, just pick one really quickly. I want to bring in my sales. I said I wouldn't do it. I can't resist. What can I tell you? I want to bring in my sales amount. Bada bing, bada boom, sales prior year. So that is the whole company. I want to slice that by something. And I never, by the way, just pull customer name or number. So anywhere it makes sense, a good data model, you're going to concatenate those fields. So I'll say customer name. And then I can start building my visual from there. I can add a slicer here, which would be my calendar. But we are coming up against the 15 minutes. It goes by so quickly for me because I love this. So, oh, actually, it is time for me to go. Not just time, but I just got an alert on my Apple Watch KPI that my discounts have dropped below a particular threshold. I got to get to work and deal with that. But hey, if any of you have questions about what we're delivering here, Power BI in general, talking about data models, please reach out. Anybody at Preferred Strategies would be absolutely thrilled to talk to you. I'm Frank Data Di Lorenzo. Everybody have a great day. Take care.